Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is drawingXpressions, live streaming here on YouTube. I'm Parz, creative writing guy. So happy that you're here. I'm happy to be here. So thank you. Thank you for joining me for the next little while to talk creative writing, creativity, and all that creative stuff. So before I jump into my usual intros into the whole process, first off, it's been a couple of weeks. So I found myself just sitting here in front of the computer, just sort of, running through what is it that I do and I talk about, and yeah, sort of have to retrain myself to do this. So if it's a little bit rough, yeah, that's a piece of the reason why I'm not in the flow just yet. Please, if you are out there, do drop a note into chat. Say hi. Alicia, my lovely lady love, is monitoring chat. So yeah, please do reach out. And if you're watching this on the replay, yeah, please do drop a comment into the chat. Anyways, so that's that. This is live, and so like lives go. You get the good, the bad, the ugly. None of it cut out. So who knows what could possibly happen? What could go wrong? Let's see now here. So that's that. The air here in Chiang Mai is fabulously bad, to the point where we're closing up the house and we've got our air purifiers running at full steam. And even still, this morning I woke up and I sounded like I had swallowed gravel. I don't sound so bad right now, so hopefully it's not. I'm gonna speak more and croak less, but just so that you're aware. And of course, I do have my handy dandy water to help keep things lubed. Okay. So there's that. And then lastly, and maybe I should have opened with this. 2 weeks ago, our dear cat Rory, she passed away. That's why I wasn't here last week. Yeah, it's left a big hole in our hearts, and we are healing. We're still healing. It doesn't hurt anywhere near as much as it used to, but it's still there. For both of us, for Alicia and I, and the cats as well. They're still adjusting too. So part of the point I was alluding to when I was saying that this is live is, as everyone is sort of figuring out what life looks like now. This is the first live I've done without her joining us in the house, being in the house. Lord knows that the behaviors are changing, and so I could easily have a cat decide to walk across the screen. If it happens, it happens, and that's just one of the joys of being live. Okay, and I do want to thank everyone who reached out with love, support, kindness. It meant the world. It really did. So thank you for all of that. Okay, so having said that, now let's start to get into the live stream meat itself. So we use guidelines here in Casa del DX. The rules, when they break, there's little shards everywhere. It's like glass. It's it's not pleasant to step on. Guidelines, they bend. They don't even break. So that's nice. The class structure for today, or the live stream structure for today. The always have the two sections, the planner and the pantser. For today, the planner is going to be the Moss Piglet prompt coming up for the May issue, and the submission deadline is the first Wednesday in April, which I think is the 2nd. We'll see that in a minute or two. So we'll explore some ways to look at the Moss Piglet prompt, which is musical instruments. And in the Pantser section, I want to share a thing or two that helped us in the grieving process. Some writing exercises, or a writing exercise that really seemed to help. And so I'll just share that along, and hopefully it'll help you if and when there's a time of mourning, grieving, crisis. Okay, so with all of that, let's move over to getting our minds and our bodies ready by breathing and stretching. So I'm going to invite you to take a nice deep breath in with me now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Big breath in. And a little stretch. There we go. Good. And keep in mind that you don't have to do it just the once. You can do it multiple times. Yeah. It's always just a nice feeling to help clear the mind and whatnot. Okay. So let's move into the Pantser section of our live stream today. And that, again, that is going to be the Moss Piglet musical instruments prompt. And I'm just going to bring up the screen. There we go. So this is what goes out. I hope you can't really hear the squeaky cry of our female ragdoll, Suki, who is below me. Anyways, hopefully you can. So this is their call for submissions. Again, on musical instruments, there is the where you submit work to. Oh, I got the deadline right, April 2nd. And that just gives you all the info. So let's just sort of explore. Thank you. I just got see in the chat that some treats are going to end up being put out. And so maybe the cats will be a bit more interested in treats than they will be in me. Oh dear. I think that sounds okay. Some noise upstairs. Okay. So let's just start to talk about different ways that we can approach the idea of musical instruments. Now, it's a pretty broad prompt. You know, where there the cats go. The treats are on their way. So where can we go? Sorry, I'm distracted as cats are running. It's behind the camera, so just imagine that. Anyways, where can we go? We can run straight at the prompt. And so we could write a narrative nonfiction piece about a particular instrument. We could talk about maybe the learning of a musical instrument. Maybe when you were a kid, you learned a musical instrument. You played endless scales on the piano or something. Or you learned something much later on in life. You picked up something in retirement. I've known people who are serial musical instrument triers, right? They'll play the saxophone for a few months, and then they'll switch over and they'll be on the clarinet, and then they'll switch over and they'll be on something else. Or another idea is maybe the memory remembrance of hearing an instrument in a new way. And I actually specifically wrote down slide guitar on Red Rider's song Lunatic Fringe. And because slide guitar, normally I associate with country music, and I don't really like country music, but hearing the slide guitar on that, that tune from Red Rider, it's pretty amazing. And so can I describe the feels? Can I describe when I first realized that, you know, what I was experiencing? Sure, I could write about that. So these are some ideas that run more straight at the prompt. Where else can we go? We can maybe approach the prompt in a different way. We can invent a new instrument and write about it. Maybe we could, hearing someone learning a musical instrument. So like a parent who has to listen to the painful squeaks and squawks coming out of a trumpet or a violin. The tentativeness and the, that kind of thing. Or maybe, you heard an instrument in a new way and wished you hadn't. It was the first time you experienced bagpipes. And I love bagpipes, but bagpipes are one of those things where it forms strong opinions one way or the other. And so perhaps, if you want to talk about how ungodly the bagpipes are to your ears. So we could do that too. And there's other ideas as well. Now, with those, some of those ideas out there, for anyone who is looking to just kind of grab the prompt and then use it in a certain way, we've got some ideas. So this is one of those exit ramps where you can just kind of go off and do your thing, and we'll come back when we have the stretch and breathing screen come up again. Or, we can continue to work along together. So here we go. So I'm going to just pull this up. So a couple of things that I've written for the prompt so far. One is starting with the saying, we'll make beautiful music together, add an instrument or two and see where that goes. And by instrument, it could be anything. You do have the option of going into erotica, and that's okay. My piece of writing did not. It was suggestive, but certainly not erotic. But that's certainly a choice. Another one is composing music in nature by nature or one of her creatures. So I have a working, this one's not quite written yet, but the idea is definitely there for how that is going to go. And what I'm intending to work today is where grief has been just so heavy in the house. I'm going to use that grief, that feeling, combine it with musical instrument, and explore a personal story. So I'm going to just come back to here and talk real briefly about my experience that I want to write about, and how I got there, and then move on. So again, if you are getting ready to work on your own prompt, your own thing, please go for it. And if you just want to hang out and listen to me yammer on, welcome. So my personal story is when I was a kid, and I don't remember exactly how old I was, but it was the day to select musical instruments to learn inside the school orchestra or the school band. And I really, really, really wanted to learn drums, just like every other preteen boy. And as luck or fate or whatever would have it, I was the last one to go. Just 1 second, just. So there was a representative from the place where you buy the musical instruments, and he was the one who was sort of putting together the band and putting together the orchestra. And so in I walk, last person to go, and I'm like, I want drums. And he's like, yeah, no, you don't want drums. Nah, you don't want drums. You have to play on the pad, or you have to learn rhythms and how to hold the stick. No, 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 you don't want drums. You want the viola. The viola. Oh, let me tell you that the viola is the thing for you, my boy. And so I got gaslit. And it wasn't until a whole lot later that this kind of came up, and I realized just how gaslit I got. Well into adulthood that that happened. Up until then, I'd been just like, oh yeah, I had over time of playing the instrument, I was losing interest more and more. I was never very good at it. Until finally I lost interest almost completely, and it only came out for when I had to play at school. And the instrument never came home. I never practiced. Parents despaired. Positive and negative reinforcements didn't work, and blah, 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 blah. And then finally the thing got stolen out of the school locker. And so then I also learned about the insurance company, how they like to not pay out on things, and accuse the son who was disinterested in the viola of stealing his instrument and getting rid of it. That was a lovely piece. So anyways, so I can go on and talk about my hurt and pain and blah. And I find that less interesting than anything. What I find interesting, however, is if we reframe the story and we put it into terms of the viola. How did the viola feel? What would the hopes and dreams and fears of the viola be? Because I was its first owner. And so what would that look like? And having someone who was disinterested and, more and more disinterested until it was just not coming out of the case, 6 days a week. Or I guess I had orchestra three times per week in school. So it would come out, but it would get popped right back in and then just slid away and forgotten. So what would the viola feel? Neglected, grieving over not being able to do music-y things. And so that's where I'm going to go, and where I have sort of, where I want to explore. So I have my my notes. My notes here where I was writing down some ideas, and a little bit of history as a reminder for myself. What are some high points that I want to hit? What are some low points that I want to hit? And how would my perceptions be different than the viola's perceptions? Maybe in getting stolen, it was a relief that maybe someone's going to use the viola, because clearly I wasn't. Stuff like that. And even to the point of, do we have a theme of like death and rebirth, where the viola feels like it is just dying inside and it's not doing anything. It gets stolen, and okay, now there's like this rebirth of the next owner, and hopefully that's going to be better. So that's some ideas. And so anyways, with that, I'm going to open up my page. Whoops, not that page. I want that page. As I said, I am not quite in the flow of things. Normally I have that page set up ahead of time, but there we go. Okay, so I'm going to, no, that's not the touch screen. There we go. Okay, there we go. I tell you, guy leaves for 2 weeks, comes back, and can't keep his tech straight. Okay. So, this is going to just be the story about the viola. Again, so when it was born, or crafted, or manufactured. Actually, yeah, okay, we'll start with here, and then we'll make a new note. So when it was born, full of hope and dreams. And why not? Because, you know, you're a musical instrument. You hope to play and to play beautifully. But what chance do you have when you are not crafted to the exacting standards of a Stradivarius or one of these other very, very expensive instruments? You know, I can't say that musical instruments are mass produced, but if they were, this is probably one of those. Probably more manufactured than crafted. Whoops. And so that sort of limits its opportunities. Opportunities limited to teaching new players how to play. What other little notes did I make here that let's see here. Okay. Was neglected. Was stolen. And when and after was stolen and re-emerged, see if I spelled that right, yes, as a violin. And that was sort of a weird, there it goes, spelled right, violin. Okay. That was one of those things. Apparently someone stolen goods, and someone had strung my viola as a violin, and but you know, stuff happened where I wasn't able to claim it back. Anyway, so that's just some basic ideas behind my personal story that's going to be going for the viola's telling of the tale. So, you know, if you, whoops, no, I hit the wrong keyboard on the wrong thing again. I'm trying to keep my tech straight and just not managing. Okay, so so there's just a few items to start with. Now, when we talk about how would a viola speak? Probably in musical terms, right? It wants to sing, it wants to cry, it wants to have people dance. Maybe it would do it in verse, because, you know, poetry is more lyrical. Now, the thing that I wrote is definitely prose. I did not edit this to go into poetry, but it could. And maybe because, and building on the idea that it's more manufactured than crafted, maybe if it was lyrical in more poetic form, maybe it would be, you know, bad poetry to sort of highlight the fact that it's been beat up, it's been used, it's been neglected. So musical terms and maybe even poetic. What else would we want to put in here? The last thing I think is, where is it now? Where is it now? Because it's been 40, 50 years since I last saw it. Where would it be? Would it be in an attic or a basement? Would it be have a new life with, you know, yet another owner Don't know. So we can explore that too. Okay. So with all of those items, I'm going to scroll and make a new page. And here we go. Make my new page. Scroll up. So how do we enter them? So think about being the instrument. Think about what I might want to talk about as an instrument. And I'm going to start with, I can't say that I was crafted. So let's just bring that up right off the bat. That's a term for Stradivarius. Stradivarius. Whoops. And I hope I'm spelling this right. Thank you, spell check. Or Stradivarius. I was more manufactured. While I hoped for a life of concerts, and beautiful music, I know my lot was to be the reluctant, here we go, producer of tentative squeaks, uncertain bowing, inexpert fingers, and the kind of neglect only a pre-teen boy naturally gives. There we go. So they're just warm and fuzzy paragraph to start off with. The I realize that my lot in life is not going to be high and mighty and whatnot. It's I'm going to be helping to teach kids how to play. Okay. So okay. And I was fine with all that. Because what else are you going to be? I guess not fine. But my experience was heavy on the neglect. At first, things were good, and I was played and enjoyed as we worked through scales and exercises to learn how to play music. But over time, and as I later learned, but here we go. Let's drop that because I don't want to put in that today. So, but over time, he lost interest in me. Turns out I was not his first choice. And let's face it, viola is a poor substitute for a set of drumsticks. Let's close the bracket. There we go. I spent years locked away in my case, only pulled out for an hour or so, a couple of times per week when I was needed, but otherwise I was left forgotten. That was a dark and painful time. And why wouldn't it be? You have an instrument that wants to be used and it's just being ignored. It's one purpose in life and it's not able to fulfill it. And that was the case until one day I was stolen. My prior owner may have grieved my loss, but I celebrated. Here was a chance to be an instrument who was able to sing and bring happiness to a new student. And yes, to make that happen, I ended up being strung as a violin which isn't ideal, but I managed. To accept something of fate, the whims of fate. There we go. So that sort of takes us to the end of what I know, and it sort of hit some high points, some low points, in the life of the viola. And so now I'm going to break the reading wall, and I'm just going to have the viola address us directly. And so, dear reader, and I'm going to evoke a little bit of the Bridgerton note taking, which always goes, dear reader. So we'll just evoke that just a little bit, just for fun. And so, dear reader, the question you may have now is, where am I? Let's put where am I? Let's just drop those into, put some quotes around it. Whoops, quotes. There we go. And let's have the, actually it's going to force the, let's see if I can just change that. It's being a pain. Okay, I'll just leave it for now. And my answer to you is does it matter? In the end, all that matters to me is either having, to me, is having the opportunity to make or to be a part of making music and inspiring new musicians. And if I'm not doing that right now, I hope to be doing so soon. My hope springs eternal. And I think that just sort of wraps it up nicely and leaves it there. So just get this out of the way. Let's bring us back here to the top. So let's see if we kind of covered some elements that we wanted to hit with the tail of this from the point of view of the viola. So I can't say that I was crafted. That's a term for a Stradivarius. So already I haven't identified that we're talking about a string instrument, let alone a viola. But the fact that we're talking about a Stradivarius should instantly bring us into the world of, okay, this is at least a stringed instrument. And Stradivariuses are not just violins. Stradivariuses, violins, violas, cellos. I'm not sure if they made basses. I don't know if a double bass existed then. Not sure, but I know for a fact that those three, they were made by Stradivarius. So I was more manufactured. And while I hoped for a life of concerts and beautiful music, I knew, let's just change that around. I knew my lot was to be the reluctant producer of tentative squeaks, uncertain bowing, inexpert fingers, and the kind of neglect that only a preteen boy naturally gives. And I was fine with all that. But my experience was heavy on the neglect. At first, things were good, and I was played and enjoyed as we worked through scales and exercises to learn how to play music. But over time, he lost interest in me. Turns out I was not his first choice, and let's face it, a viola is a poor substitute for a set of drumsticks. So here, we've now identified we're talking about a viola. So I spent years locked away in my case, only pulled out for an hour or so a couple of times per week when I was needed, but otherwise I was left forgotten. That was a dark and painful time. And that was the case until one day I was stolen. My prior owner may have grieved my loss, but I celebrated. Here was a chance to be an instrument who was able to sing and bring happiness to a new student. And yes, to make that happen, I ended up being strung as a violin, which is an ideal, but I managed to accept the whims of fate. So the quick note, the viola did make an appearance. My former conductor had spotted a student of his playing an overly large violin, and he suspected it was the viola. And he mentioned it to the student's parents, who promptly went in, and there is a piece of paper that identifies model number or the serial number. So they lifted that out of the body of the viola, so it wasn't able to be recognized by any legal authority. And yeah, and so that's yay. Okay, so the viola managed to accept the whims of fate. And so, dear reader, the question you may have now is, where am I? And my answer to you is, does it matter? In the end, all that matters to me is having the opportunity to be a part of making music and inspiring new musicians. And if I'm not doing that right now, I hope to be doing so soon. My hope springs eternal. And I like that. That's it speaks to hope and renewal and, working through trials and tribulations, grief, disappointment, all of these just topics that kind of come up when life just does not go the way you want it to. So I think that's a wonderful start on a topic of personal reflection. Yeah, and I could edit it more. And of course, with you in working through your story, you can always edit it more as well. and you can make it what it is that you'd like it to be. Okay, so with that, I am going to leave that, and we're going to come over to the breathe and stretch, and just invite us to take a nice deep breath in. Here we go. Stretch. Okay. This is a bit of a truncated stretch, but that's all right. We're all good. Okay, so welcome to part 2, pantser section. So in the pantser section, want to talk about creative process while you're grieving and you're going through it, and a couple of ideas for processing and just working through your feelings and your situation. How do you do that? And people find different ways to do it, and so this is just an alternate way, suggested way to do something. So one way, and the way that I was getting through was, this is my brain puke journal, as I like to call it. And again, I've shown it before, and it's in code because I've handwritten in it and can't understand a word. I can barely read it. But yeah, so, and it was just raw feelings that were getting put into here. Nothing pretty, nothing nice. But it just allowed that to be expressed onto the page. So that's one way. And another way, and this is what Alicia really focused on. Bring my notes back. Whoops. My notes back real quick. Is using seed word germination as a means to sort of work through thoughts and feelings and process, and using it as a distraction even. So what am I referring to? So if you're not familiar with seed word germination, you start with a word, and then you're making a list of words, and each word that follows relates in some way, shape, or form to the one before. And the relationship can be none, so that you don't have to paint yourself into a corner. You can always just put up a brand new word and just keep going. So as a quick example of what that might look like, here, we're just to here, and I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So I've got a list of 4 words here. Round, ground, playground, play. And play is the painful word, because Rory was quite the player. If someone was calling to play, she would come running over and be part of it. She would dominate toys. She was very energetic, very high energy. And so she was the playful one. And so that is a painful word. So what do we do with that word? If it's really painful and we just can't work with it, we drop a new word beneath, and something totally innocuous, like the word innocuous, or whatever you can just grab at a moment, like, I'm holding a pen, so I'm pen, or if I'm typing on a keyboard, something simple, just a neutral word to kind of get the pain word away. Or you can even cross it out or delete it. If you're on the keyboard, right, you can just hit delete and not deal with the word that is causing you so much pain. If you're writing it out, you can just cross it out, or you can leave it and just like, okay, I'll come back to that later. Right? So you can sort of set it aside and just know that that's a pain point that needs to be dealt with at some point, but certainly not today. Or you can use it as a means to reflect on, so like, we can reflect on the word play, and we can remember how she would play. We can meditate on the word. We can do all sorts of things to help take that pain away if we're ready for it. but we don't have to be, right? We can just leave it for another day. And so, and you can just continue doing this list. And you don't even have to do this list in one sitting. It can be like you write down 5 words and then you set it aside, and then you come back and you write down another 5 words the next day or another day or another instance, right? And so it just continues on and on and on, and you just can let it go until it's just like, it just play it as a word game. And then you hit another pain point, hit another pain word, and like, you know, fur. Oh, okay, fur is a painful word. Can I work my way through that pain or not? Do I have to leave that one aside and move on to a different word? So that's the process. And so I wanted to show you Alicia's journal. She was very gracious to share this with me and allowing me to share it with you. So I think this is the right window. Here we go. So there we go. So this is her her book, her notebook, and you can see on the right-hand side just the list of words. And there's different color inks, and there's different color different different color inks. Yeah, that's the immediate. So she has some fountain pens, and so she's got different inks in different pens, and so she just grabs whatever. So each color does not necessarily relate to like a single writing session. There's multiple writing sessions within each color, but she just kept going and going and going, and then decorated the page beyond that, and wrote some things on the side there as well. Wind blows through the trees, nature's vocal cords. I mean, that's something just a profound little thing that you can just stick in there next to. This is one of the nice things about journaling inside a journal, that you can make it to be what you want it to be. The digital is easier to use for some purposes, but it is it's a little bit more difficult to personalize and whatnot. It requires a bit of effort. So anyways, that was Alicia's take on using seed word germination to work through her feelings, and as a distraction as well, where you just sort of list out the words, and then you're focusing on words and relationships and whatnot, and you're not thinking about the pain. And I mean, there's really no other way to put it aside from the pain. Anyways, so that is what I was hoping to cover today. So one being the Moss Piglet musical instruments prompt and finding ways to work with that. And the second is some creative ways to work through troubled times. And I hope those suggestions will be of help. Anyways, let me take us into some closing bits. Like our drawingXpressions haiku, a creative space holistically supportive. Please like, share, subscribe. Please do. It definitely helps us to grow the channel and to let other people know that we're out here. If you share your work on social media, use the hashtag DXLive with Parz. I look at Instagram and Facebook when I remember. So I will be out looking for stuff when I remember, and commenting and whatnot. And if it's been a little bit, shoot me a note, just like, Parz, I've had this up for a while. Would you please take a look? Please do. Or email me and send me your stuff directly. That's fine too. With that, I'm just going to come back to here. I'm going to thank you so much for being a part of this creative writing process, for being a part of this live stream. Thank you for making this part of your creative journey. And one last note before I sign off. Because of the things that are going on in the house, health-wise and weather-wise, and all the, you know, the air quality-wise and all that stuff. It is one of those things where we are only going to be posting up that a class or a live stream is happening pretty much just a couple of hours before. I had originally thought, oh, you know, we can do it like 24 hours in advance, but if someone has a bad night and it's, you know, I'm just not able to do it, and I'm saying, you know, I could have a bad night, she could have a bad night, one of the cats could have a bad night, and we're wiped. I would rather post up and say that a live stream is going to happen a couple hours beforehand, rather than cancel with a couple of hours to go. So that gives some assurance for you that that is the case. Yes, and Melee is, she is ill. Her sister died of fate, which is basically the heart creates blood clots and then throws them. And so Melee has survived 2 instances of that. Rory, unfortunately, she was taken on her first go-round. It's terribly painful, strikes out of nowhere, and yeah, it's just a terrible, terrible thing. So Melee lives under Damocles' sword, so we just don't know when she's going to be hit with the next episode, and if she'll survive it, if and when she does. So you hope for the best, you plan for the worst, and that's really what we're doing with making last-minute decisions on whether I'm going to be live or not. Okay, so that explains all of that. That said, I hope to see you the next time I am live, and until then, I hope things are going well in your world. Till then, bye for now.